Justice Not Found, man.
Oh
song.
man, wow, you're bringing up memories. Yeah,
Man, with Pete Nice, man.
Yeah, Pete Nice, brother. That's a great. You want to hear the story? Or
I 100% want to hear about that.
That's a great story. Okay, so Mickey Rourke flies in from LA or wherever. I guess he lives in Cali or whatever. He flies in. We visited him actually one time. I went down there to see him with Vito Antifermo, the boxer. Yeah, Vito. Vito was a sweetheart.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
So I go down to see Mickey Rourke. Vito Antifermo had a club in Florida, but this I think he had a house in LA too. So he might have flew in from LA. And besides the club in Florida was beautiful, by the way. It was nice. Pete goes, I went to dinner with Mickey Rourke, Big Pete. He says he wants to do a rap song about my brother. And I says, let me do it. So I tell the kid, I go, push, I want to do it. And he goes, what are you going to do? The kid's like, you're hijacking trucks. You're going to do a rap song? So but I got the FBI now up my ass, and I know I'm going away. So I'm thinking, okay, I defend John, and on top of it, I got a defense because if the rap song, if I could get it out before they come for me, and they're going everywhere, they're offering everybody the witness protection program. I go, I'm dead. So I know I'm going away, and I know they ain't going to put this kind of resources into me and let me go. So I know I'm done.
Right.
I know I'm doing big time. I know I ain't going to get out of this with a slap on the wrist. So I says, look, I'll have a defense. I could say I sang praises about John, and then they came after me. That's what I'm thinking in my head. So I hire William Kunstler, the big civil rights attorney. William Kunstler.
Civil rights guy, yeah.
Yes, William Kunstler, just crazy. William Kunstler defended Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about history? Yeah.
Think about that.
Think about that, right? So he was like an icon. And I went to his office and I says, look, I need you. And I says, here's my defense. He goes, I love it. He goes, that was brilliant. He goes, I'm going to use it at trial. So when I went away, but let me jump back to the tape. So now I want to do the tape. So he goes, you ain't a rapper. What the fuck are you going to do about a rap? I go, look, I'll find somebody, tell them to teach me how to do it and make the music. And how hard could it be? I go, these idiots are running around on TV, this and that. How hard I don't want to knock anybody because I became one of those idiots myself. But so I go, look, how hard could it be? It can't be rocket science. And a lot of them are talented. I get it, but can't be impossible. So I knew a guy who knew a guy in Middle Village, and I reached out to the guy. He knew, I think, I don't know if he knew Pete Nice directly. He may have known Search too. Okay. And however it worked out.
Third base, man.
Yeah.
Third base. And Pop goes the Weasel because the Weasel goes incredible. Man, they were incredible. So he sets up a dinner. Pete Nice is nice enough to go. So me and Pete Gotti, the kid, not the father, the kid, eat with Pete Nice, and we take him to dinner at Peter Luger's in Brooklyn. So I tell them we're having steak, and they used to do. You remember the cream of spinach and
cream of spinach, the hash browns,
the browns. Yeah, it's great.
Sliced tomato.
Yeah, it's great. Yep.
The sliced tomato, the onion.
Yep. So we're eating at Peter Luger's, and I go, look, can you teach me how to rap? I want to do a song. and he goes, I said, it's going to be about John Gotti, I says, and he goes, yeah, I'll do it for you. He says, no problem. So he gave me, it's a little bit of a price tag. I had to pay for the studio. I paid him a little money. I paid Sam Seva. I think I gave him like 20,000 cash at the time. Okay. Yeah. I mean, but that, like, I'm hijacking trucks, right? I would go to Atlantic City with that. So I'm like, okay. Yeah. So he books Chung King's studio, and then I go to Fat George DeBello, my dear friend Fat George, rest in peace. There's pictures online of him in front of the club. He was a caretaker of the club on 101st Avenue. Sometimes he'd do John's club, but most of the time he was a juniors club on the side street. Yep. So Fat George, as long as I can remember, Fat George would make you'd walk in the club and he'd do like a whole little ditty about somebody who was just there. And it'd be like a big skipper or something, and George is totally eviscerating him with a rap song. Yeah, there'd be a laugh. He's got no class. He's got a fat. And I'm going,
Go ahead, Lou. Go ahead, Lou.
Go,
yeah,
Lou.
the club probably bugged you to be in a courtroom. Yeah, and so he was great. So I go, can you make a song about John? I never read before until I went to jail. Yeah, he does the song, and the song comes great. So I got the lyrics, and I got Pete Nice at third base, and I got Sam Sever, who lays down the tracks. He's one of the biggest. Sam Sever laid down some of the greatest tracks of our time. So we got Sam Sever, and we did the famous Chung King studio down in downtown Manhattan, Lower Manhattan. And I got to tell you, it came really good. And then I paid for the records to get produced. I paid for them to get made. I paid for them and then I paid for publicity. I got it on the radio. And, so I figured, look, you know what? If I'm going to be going for hundreds of thousands with attorneys anyway, if I spend 40, 50 on this rap song, by the time it's all said and done, maybe 20 went to Pete in the beginning, but then I had to pay the albums, the tapes. It was cassettes back then, cassettes and LPs. So I made that. Then I had an artist, photographer. I had an artist for the record. I literally drove around and did all the. I figured the FBI wants to follow me while I'm doing this. Let them follow me.
Give them something to see.
I'm doing something real instead of doing crime. So the thing comes out. It did good. It did really good. I sold a lot of albums.
Wow.
It was
great, man.
Yeah, it was on the radio. Then they picked me up. Then I go to trial.
They were mad as hell.
Gotta love
it, man.
Here's the shit. Here's the
Gotta love it. Flushing's very own, people. Forget about it.
So I go to consular. I go, bring it in. So he uses the whole thing, the whole tape, as a defense, consular. And he says, this is why the government came after my client. So the judge was a real bastard. He goes,
people.
If he talks, if he wants to bring it in, I couldn't even hear the guy. What the fuck is he? If he wants to bring it in, he'll have to testify. I go, boy, what did he say? He says, you have to testify. I go, what do you mean? He goes, that's the only way you could bring it in. So apparently the judge is saying, I'm not allowing you to introduce it, but if Ferrante takes the stand, then you could give him, you could give him direct before I get crossed and say, what is this about? I made a record. And they go, so I'll let it in that way. And then so consul goes,
sorry, guys.
Consul goes, you want to get on the stand? I go, I can't get on the stand. What are you kidding me? I go to get all the guys we talked about in the last 20 minutes. I go, what? I can't talk about them, not in a courtroom. It's different on a podcast. Back then, things were live. Things were. It was the statutes were live back then. I go, there's no way I could get on the stand. There's no way. So the judge goes, then we can't bring it in. And I'm like, oh, shit. So I got to tell you, that was my first trial. I got convicted. And, what I should have did, I was so cocky and so sure that I didn't think to buy a juror. I probably should have, but I'm going to tell you right now. There was a guy there, I swear. He looked like he could have walked right out of the schoolyard I hung out at as a kid. And I go, this guy convicted me for shit, and he did. But I felt like he might have been susceptible to a bribe. But whatever the case is,
he was holding up cue cards with prices, man. You might not have saw it.
Yeah. But in the end, in the end, it was better. It was the best thing that I went away. I had to go away, and then I ended up getting hit with with the federal indictment. That was Secret Service. Then I got hit with the FBI. Then I got the superseding. I had the state case. So, I'm in jail and I'm going now. I got all these cases on my back. So I was going no matter what. So it was the best thing, in the end, I had to deal with this and change my life around. So,
absolutely.
Right. It was the catalyst. And you know what, man? I always say with guys, like I got one buddy that did 27 years. He would have got off if his co-defendant wasn't going to talk, you know what I'm saying? So they had nothing on him, you know what I mean? So he ends up having to plead to 50 the day a court finds out the guy's flipped. Same with Rob Rosso, man. That guy, he would have walked away, but people talked, and he had, But I asked all these people the same question, man. Do you think getting locked up may have actually saved your life in the long run? Had you not got locked up, would you have kept going into stuff that may have led to something else? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So 100%. You never know.
100%. Good question. 100%. I would have, if I would have won, first of all, at that first trial, I would have went back to the street. And then if I would have even beat the next one, because the witness violated the witness protection program when we copped. Me and my co-defendants, 8 of us, copped together. We took a global plea, and that's why we had to all take it together or they wouldn't give it to us. So when we did that, we didn't know that the main guy, violated the program and was thrown out. They didn't have that. So when I reversed my case from jail and went back by myself without 8 guys, I says I could beat this. That's when I pushed them to go to trial, and I found out the guy violated the program. They no longer had a snitch. So we could have won had we waited them out longer. So, but to your question, had I won, my life would have been ruined because I would have went back and I would have felt so invincible that I would have definitely went back, because I wouldn't have had all that time to think, all that time to learn, all that time to read, all that time to mull over the things I did and to say, this wasn't right. This isn't how you live a life. This isn't the proper way to live. This isn't how it's supposed to be. And I really wholeheartedly, much as I loved it, and I did love parts of it, I love the bonds, I love my friends. You know, you can't go through life, you know, leaving a trail of bad karma behind you and not expect it to come back. So, you know, so like, you know, it was the greatest thing in my life. And even when I reversed my federal case, they shoved me off to the state. And when I went to the state, because I still had a stick up in the state I had to do. And just to talk about stand up, the stick up in the state, my co-defendant, remember the guy I told you I went to Carmine Bull and I said, is this guy all right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That guy did the stick up that I was charged with in the state. So to give you an idea of like, this is how we live, right? So what? I got caught for it. That's tough shit. You play the game. Someone, you know, you land on, you know, go directly to jail. You play Monopoly, you might land
and I
on.
pass go and I collect 200. Exactly.
You know the cost going in, man.
Right.
You know the cost.
Exactly.
You pay
and
it,
you can't
that's it.
say, oh, yeah, that's it. So
It's not fair. Why did I get? No, it don't work like
thank
that.
you, Mike.
You
Exactly.
can't play the why me game when it's all the gig is up. Why me? Well, you know why.
Exactly. So now I got this, reversed the case after 6.5 years. So they go, you got to go over to the state now and do time there. So soon as I land in the state, I go to the board, like literally in 5 minutes. Like, you know, like literally I just landed there. I don't even know if I unpacked. And
They hit you. Bang.
they hit me with a deuce.
They did.
I just got here. What are you hitting me for? And I had some of the time running concurrent from the feds still. So they go, nah, sorry, give a deuce. So this is what's funny. I said to myself, first I'll tell you the funny part when I go to the board again. But first is this part. I go to the lawyer. I go, these SOBs hit me. So he goes, yeah, this is bullshit. He goes, let me talk to the prosecutor. He goes, I don't know, maybe they can do something. He goes to the prosecutor. The prosecutor sends word back to the attorney. If he's willing to still talk, we're still willing to listen. I said to the attorney, if I wasn't going to talk when all the time was in front of me, why the F would I talk when it's all behind me?
All of a sudden now, right?
So I said, forget it. I said, I got a deuce. I'll do the deuce. I says, tell him to go shit in his hat. So the lawyer goes, okay. So I go and I do this is a funny story now. So I do the next 2 years and I go in front of the board again. So now, what I was getting at with this story was that 2 years was one of the greatest educational 2 years in my life, because I'm in the state and I don't have people to talk to and hang out with. And I'm really like all the guys I did crimes with and I knew from the street are in the feds. So I'm with guys I really don't know. I made a few friends. There's some good guys in there, but it's not like, you know, you're not distracted. You're not like, hey, Louis, you hear what happened with Joey from Staten Island?
Yeah.
There's nothing going on in my world that I need. There's no distractions. So
No, that's right. Yeah.
it was incredible. So that 2 years was like, I just like really, really dove into the books. And the state had a cassette recorder. You couldn't have a cassette recorder in the feds. So the state, I got a cassette recorder. I'm ordering lectures from 1-800 Teaching Company. And I'm listening to lectures every morning, every night. I'm reading all day. And let me tell you, it was the greatest thing that happened. So I go back to the board 2 years later. And now I go like this. I go, I got 6 months left. They want to hit me. Fuck them. I ain't begging for no fucking release. I said, I ain't going to, I did this. I did that. I've been
bettering myself.
Fuck them. So I go in front of the board and they go, yeah, they go. Now, the first time I went, I did all that shit. I haven't had a disciplinary. I've done nothing but read. I taught people literacy. I taught people, I taught a history class in Lewisburg, which was great, by the way. We did a history class where everybody could come watch a movie every week, which was great. We used to watch a history movie. Yeah. I was in there with Jimmy Coonan, Little Richie Pagliarulo, Frankie Lestorino, Michael Sessa. We had a great crew in there. So, but anyway, I taught a class, though, because it was a legitimate thing I put together to get so they would give us the movies to watch, like Lawrence of Arabia and Anne of 1,000 Days, all the old classics that were history-based. So anyway, I go in front of the board. They go, what have you done? I go, nothing. They go, yeah. You've done anything to better yourself? Not really. Yeah, I don't need these people. Fuck them. Give me the other 6 months. I got my tapes, lectures. I got my books. I'm good. I don't care. The summer's coming. I don't care.
Yeah.
They let me go.
This son of a bitch wants to stay. We're getting him out.
I made parole. I said, what?
Man. Hell yeah. Mind games on them.
Oh, yeah. I went back to the gym block. I said, I gave those assholes a piece of my mind. They'll never let me go. They go, you made parole, Lou.
That's the best, man.
Yeah,
that's the best, man.
It just reminded me of something. It's like the guy, I know it's not a joke, but he just made me laugh hard. It's like the guy that goes to the doctor. The doctor gives him a bill. The guy looks crazy. I can't pay the bill. He had 6 months to live. He couldn't pay the bill. Doctor says, I'll give you another 6 months.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. You got a year
He
now.
was looking to fucking stay.
Exactly. Oh, man, that's hilarious, man.
That's great, Louis. Guy couldn't pay his bill. I'll give you another 6 months. I must have been how long will.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I got parole. Yeah.
I tell you, Mikey, man, this is great. That's why we don't we conversate. This is a conversation. This is what it's all about. Louis, this is great. Mikey, what do you got on JFK, man? RFK, you got something?
Man, on JFK, just yesterday, man, out of all the people, Ghost, right, Craig?
Yeah, of course.
Ghost is big into that, man. And so soon as they released all those papers on the Freedom of Information just recently, he asked for everything he could get on it, right? And they'll only send you so much at a time or whatever. Anyway, he's been reading into it. Do you have any opinions on Carlos Marcello and that? Let me know what you think, man.
Yeah, I think before I jump in, I'm glad you asked me about it. I think Matt is pretty up on this. Matt and I traded emails a few times.
Really?
Yeah, Matt's sharp as shit. I got to tell you.
We're a plumber, right?
It's all works, man. That's right. It's all works. Beautiful. Love it, man.
For a plumber.
Yeah, you said you're a plumber?
Yeah.
Who would have known, Matty?
That's great.
Who would have known you're a plumber? Who says plumbers ain't smart? Forget about it.
Yeah, and let me tell you. So one of my favorite thinkers of all time. I got his books on my shelf. If you could see one, they're somewhere back there. Eric Hoffer, I think it's either Hoffer or Hoeffer. Eric Hoffer, ERI, I think C. If not, I think a C instead of a K. Absolute brilliant guy. And it reminds me when you just said I'm a plumber, and I traded emails with you, and I said, wow, this guy's sharp as shit. I was an instant friend of yours, instantly. And I said, wow, this guy, he wrote me great emails. And I said, you don't get, it's nice, when you get a nice email from somebody who knows what he's talking about. And so what you just reminded me when you said I'm a plumber, Eric Hoffer, I'm reading his books, and I'm absolutely enthralled by them. Absolute genius. And he wrote something about the true believer. I think it's titled The True Believer. And I eventually was so enamored by him that I looked into his background, and he had no education. He worked the docks. And in the meantime, in between a ship coming in, he's sitting there reading and writing, and he was completely self-educated. And he got the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I don't think he won any of the Pulitzers or something like that, but he, like a philosopher's philosopher, an absolute genius, but a blue-collar guy that just really, really loves books. Yeah. You know, you can't. Schopenhauer said, you can't. You could want something, but you can't want what you want. Like there's something inside us that drives us.
Yeah.
However he explained it, where I don't care if you're going to be a plumber, I don't care if you're going to be a steam fitter, I don't care if you're going to be an operating engineer, you know, bulldozers, which is what my mother's side.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter if this is up here pulling you a certain way, you can't stop yourself. So I go to used bookstores all the time. I go in there, I got to tell you, some of the most frequent guys I see in there, they come in with overalls. They got
blue collar workers, like people you wouldn't expect, right?
They got the F-150 in the back with the toolkit.
Yeah, there you go.
And these guys are in there every day, and they're pulling books off the shelves. Marcus Aurelius, Bertrand Russell's History of Western Philosophy, and you know you see them. They're all scraped up like you just showed. So you can't. This is something that you're born with. And
Absolutely.
And what we do is what we do. We can't. You're born in a certain neighborhood. Maybe if you had a silver spoon in your mouth, you would have went to Harvard, then Princeton, degree.
Well said. Yes.
Yeah, and you would have been sitting somewhere. But I got to tell you, Matt, you might not have been who you are. You know, it could have been. Yeah. So it gives you, because you got the double insight.
Yep.
You know, like you're in touch. So Matt, your new name is Matt Hoffa.
That guy up.
Hey, Matty, that's a privilege, Your Honor, because I heard some really fucked up names for people.
We ain't gonna take Mad Dog away, but just
No. Go with the other one. Matty would appreciate the other one. The G. Yeah. I wish I was called that, bro. Come on. By the way, folks, we're with Louis Ferrante here, ex-Gambino, former Gambino guy who did his things the right way, didn't have to secure his future by ratting on anybody else and destroying theirs. No, he stood tall and did what he had to do, face it like a man, and he's out with a redemption story, which makes it a truly right and real redemption story because he did it the right way.
That's
Sorry,
right.
I had to tell everybody, remind that. Go to Amazon, go in your pocket, spend $1, buy the guy's book, learn something.
And thank you, Craig.
Always.
So the book started out as I was just going to do a history of the American Mafia, 1 volume, try to get what I could in. I didn't realize it would evolve into a trilogy, and I could have went for 20 volumes. There's so much to talk about, so I had to leave a lot out, but I put a lot in. And the second volume is a lot about, you got the first Colombo War with the gallows, you got Jimmy Hoffa, you got the Bonanno family's first problem when Joe Bonanno, they wanted him to step aside. And I got all that in there. So it is a Mafia history, volume 2. But volume 2 also, because the mob was involved with the CIA in an effort to kill Castro, and the mob, I believe, I presented a lot of evidence that I found.
Inside the world of Carlos Marcello, he was the godfather of New Orleans, and beyond that, some investigators believe he was behind the murder of John F. Kennedy.
That leads me to believe that Marcello was the hub or a big part of the conspiracy and people in killing people. And I'll tell you why. And let me just say, when I say evidence, over the years before this latest document dump, where I think they released 80,000 documents, and I was going through them every day in the beginning, and I was, plowing through them, and I started to realize that a lot of the nuggets we've had already that have come out over the years by accident, that slipped out. And the other thing, I do feel that most of the best stuff has been destroyed. And I'll explain both of those to you. So, the first thing is, you got to figure the CIA and the FBI have been holding these files for 60 years. Now, they've had 60 years now to slip into the archive room in the middle of the night with a paper shredder. And you're not going to tell me that nobody figured out how to do that. I mean, it's their building. It's not like I'm breaking into Craig's house, or Craig's breaking into Matt's house, or Matt's breaking into Mike's house. It's our house.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We have
doing
the
our
key.
own stuff.
It's our own stuff.
Right.
Hey guys, before it comes out, why don't we destroy everything that points to us? Right? Okay, so I've always believed that the biggest stuff has been destroyed. The Secret Service, all of their files were confiscated very early on. We never saw them. The CIA during the Warren Commission, which was, for those of people who are listening, it was the commission that was set up to investigate the death of John F. Kennedy. The Warren Commission got a lot of stuff from the FBI, but they didn't get stuff from the CIA a lot. They got like a few little things, just like, okay, we gave you something, but they never really gave them much. And later on, all of the things that we have were either through the dogged pursuit of FOIA requests, Freedom of Information requests, or something slipped out now and then that shouldn't have came out. So through that, I was able to piece together the puzzle, and I have all the reference notes in the back of my book of Volume 2, Borgata Clash of Titans, which is the second volume. And that's Volume 2. So Rise of Empire is Volume 1.
That's the one I listened to,
Yep. And Clash of Titans is 2. That goes deep into the Kennedy assassination.
Get the books, people.
Thank you. Thanks, Craig. Yep. So what I was able to figure out was, and look, I'm not uncovering anything that, well, to my credit, I put pieces together that nobody connected. But
you put the puzzle together, no doubt.
Yeah, I put it together. Yeah, but I never I'm not trying to say I lifted this rock and underneath this rock I found, the smoking gun. And here it is. It's got everybody's prints on it. Let's send it for DNA. I don't have that. I was able to grab all these pieces from all over the place and tell a story. Yeah, and tell a story. And the story that I told, and the evidence supports it, is that Bobby Kennedy, John F. Kennedy's brother Bobby, went after the mob before the Kennedys were in office. At some point, the mob hated the Kennedys because of that. But they were able to convince the Kennedys, if you help us get into the White House, we're going to go easy. We don't give a shit about the mob. We're going to go on to civil rights for African Americans, slowing down the nuclear arms race. There are bigger issues that we're concerned about in this country that we don't care about a couple of mob guys gambling and stuff. Okay, so the mob buys it for the most part, and they buy in, they help support Kennedy, and it's all in the book how they supported him, getting him into office, especially in Chicago and a bit in Texas too. But they supported him getting him into office. Once they get him in, they appoint Bobby Kennedy Attorney General. Jack Kennedy, John. And he puts Bobby in. And Bobby, instead of forgetting about the mob, goes after them with a vengeance.
Just boom.
Boom, right after them. Now, Marcello was one of two Dons, him and Santo Trafficante, who refused to support the Kennedys. So when Chicago and New York says, yeah, we'll support them, Trafficante from Florida and Marcello from Louisiana said, shit that, we ain't giving them a nickel. We're going to support anybody who goes against them. First, they supported Johnson, and then they supported Nixon to try to get Kennedy out of there. They didn't want him in. So Bobby had a special hatred for Trafficante and Marcello because they never supported his brother. So now he goes after all the mob bosses around the country, so they're pissed. But he's going after Marcello and Trafficante with a special vengeance. So at some point, Marcello, at the same time, this is interesting too. When Batista got thrown out of Cuba, Batista was the old leader of Cuba, and Castro came down from the Sierra Maestra Mountains, and he ousted Batista. Batista left in the middle of the night. The famous scene from The Godfather 1 or 2. They leave on a plane. That's like the president's gone. They're bombing the casinos. And that came from real life. So Batista leaves. Castro comes in. Now, all of the Cuban exiles that landed in Miami, they're saying, look, we want to go back and take back our island. And the CIA says, we'll train you. We'll put guns in your hands. You hit the beaches and we'll support you. And you go back and throw Castro out because we can't allow the domino effect, meaning communism spreading throughout Latin America. We can't allow it to start in Cuba and then spread across the Caribbean and Latin America. So we're going to stop it here, they said. So they go and they support the CIA, backs the Cuban exiles. This is going to tie back in with Marcello, just so you know. So they back the Cuban exiles. And the Cuban exiles heroically hit the beaches, the Bahio Conchillos. I can't remember the pronunciation, but it's the Bay of
Yeah,
Pigs.
Bay of Pigs, yeah.
Yep. They hit the beaches, and they're bogged down on the beaches because Castro knew they were coming, and Castro's got tanks, MiGs, and he's got them bogged down on the beaches, and they know they're outnumbered. So they're telling the Americans, the CIA told them, we'll send in reinforcements. But Kennedy said, no, we're not going to get involved in that. I don't want to look like America's a big superpower bully in this little nation. So, but the CIA went behind his back and promised the Cubans that we'd help them. So the Cubans are now going, look, they're sending signals. The last signal came from the beach. It was picked up by a ham radio operator in New Jersey. And he said, and it was a guy, Sergio, not Sergio Alcacha Smith, Pepe San Roman. He's pinned down on the beaches. He's one of the Cuban leaders. And he goes, look, we're waiting. He goes, we're fighting. We quit. But we need the help you promised. Don't abandon us. Please, don't abandon us. We'll keep fighting. And they got to tell you, man, they had balls. This little group killed way more in proportion of Castro's outnumbered army than they should have, because they fought like dogs on that beach trying to push inland. Yeah. But in the end, they just never got the support that the CIA promised them, and they blamed Kennedy. The CIA blamed Kennedy and said, you know, you double-crossed them, and you're being soft on communism. So they really pissed at Kennedy. The CIA and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Joint Chiefs are pissed at Kennedy. The Navy's pissed at Kennedy. The Navy had boats offshore ready to help them. And now the Cuban exiles, they're pissed shit at Kennedy going, how do you betray us? How do you train us for a year, give us guns and send us on the beach and leave us there?
Leave us out there, man. Yeah, man.
So now, this again, it's going to Marcelo. Just so follow the story. Now the Cuban Missile Crisis comes. When the Cuban Missile Crisis comes, Kennedy wakes up one morning and he finds out that the Soviets have put missiles on Cuba. So the Joint Chiefs and the CIA go to Kennedy, and the first thing they say is, had we supported the exiles, this wouldn't be happening. But now we got missiles there and we need to invade. We have an excuse because you can't have nuclear missiles 90 miles off the shores of Florida. So let's send in the Marines. And Kennedy goes, nah, I can't risk a nuclear holocaust not happening. So they're like, look, this is the excuse we needed. We blew it with the Bay of Pigs. Send in the Marines. Castro's a loose cannon. The Soviets will back down. This is for defending. So it's like, look, it's like, picture the mob, right? You can't just walk up to a wise guy or a skipper, let's say, and punch him in his face. It's a death sentence. But if the skipper punches you, you can knock the shit out of him because you're defending yourself. Self-defense is you have the right to, as a man, to defend your honor, to defend yourself. So even in that world, you could defend yourself. So they're trying to tell Kennedy it's defense. Let's go. And Kennedy's going, no, I don't want to do it. Let's just quarantine the island. He says, I don't want to go in. So look, people have made it in defense of Kennedy. They've said, look, he did the right thing. He was on the brink of a nuclear holocaust. But the Joint Chiefs and the CIA did not believe that Khrushchev was going to risk a nuclear holocaust. He just thought, they figured he's just pushing us and figuring Kennedy's weak. Why not see if we could get away with it? So, you know, P.S., he doesn't go in. And now the Cuban exiles feel like they lost their second chance to take back their homeland. And now not only does Kennedy not go in the second time, and by the way, as a person, I just want to make this clear. And it's clear in my book in volume 2. I didn't like Bobby. I hated Bobby Kennedy. I liked John. John was legitimate in World War II. He was courageous as they come. He swam around with his PT boat in World War II was split in half by a Japanese destroyer. He swam around a burning sea, picking up people and pulling them over and putting them on pieces of flotsam so they could survive. Then he dragged them all to an island. Then he swam 2 miles from that island in shark-infested waters to find help for them, bring back coconuts and food and water, and then finally saved all these guys. You cannot but love Kennedy, Jack Kennedy.
Yeah.
So when I talk about, so look, he fucked up, I feel, at the Bay of Pigs and at the Missile Crisis. But as a person, he was easygoing. He was courageous. I could not but like him as a person. I loved him as a person. And that's from all my research. You're talking about years of research. I love him. So some people go, oh, he cheated on his wife 1,000,000 times. He did okay, all right, whatever. Like look, the world I come from, everybody had a gumara. Yeah, exactly. So what, right? Okay, big deal. So whatever the case is, I'm just giving you like I hated Bob.
That's your opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm close.
Louis, that's your opinion, and you stick to it. That's it. That's what makes you different, and this place different than everything else. You ain't swaying from how you feel. 1,000,000%.
Opinions, exactly.
There you go.
Yep. So I, even though I'm saying he fucked up and he did, but he did fuck up, and he really. I gotta tell you, those were two major errors. And the next thing he did was the Cuban exiles were considered the mascots of freedom. They were ousted by a tyrant. Castro, as soon as the exiles were thrown off the island and they came, let me tell you, the Cuban wave was one of the, I don't know if, Mike, I don't know where you're from originally.
Texas, man. I'm here all
Texas. Yeah, but I'm saying if you have Cuban family or whatever.
No, Sicily. They all came from Sicily.
All Sicilian, okay. Because Texas got
Louis, imagine that. We got a paisan from the Southwest, brother.
yeah, that's great. That's great.
Well, my great-grandpa went to New Orleans first. So
there you go.
He was there first.
So, like, we've intermarried so much by now that you never know. You could tell my sister-in-law's Cuban.
Alaska.
I think in Texas or Florida, there's a good chance.
There you go.
So the Cuban exile wave was one of the best immigrant waves we ever had because, like, when the Sicilians came, and my family, I'm Sicilian, Napolitan, and Barese.
There you go.
Yeah, we came with all laborers who just like the poorest of poor, looking for work. Like that's how we came as Italians, and then the Irish. The same thing with the Irish, Matt. I assume you're Irish, Matt, right? The Irish was the same thing. The poorest. They fled the potato famine. So, but the Cuban.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Mikey did a show when you're talking about how they came as laborers, right? We did a show. We're talking about the immigrants. Mikey's got his family working laborers like we growing up with their scapines on and their dress pants shoveling concrete.
Yeah.
Oh, the scapines.
I haven't heard that in years. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So the Cuban wave, why it's different, right? Castro was like, it's a communist revolution. So everybody from all different stratas of society are fleeing Cuba. So you're getting school teachers, professors, corporate people, and laborers. Yeah. You're getting everything. And they literally picked up in Miami, like overnight, like they're like industrious, like Sicilians. Sicilians came here. I got to tell you, Sicilians. I wrote it in volume 1 of my book. Some of the most industrious people, Sicilians, have done incredible in America, and I got to tell you, they literally came here and picked up in a minute. How do you get?
It's incredible, man.
Incredible.
They didn't look for a handout.
I always say there's one thing I say about people coming in.
That's right. That's right. Hard work. That's right.
Can you imagine going to another country, not speaking that language for the most part, and then just becoming successful? But like when I think of my grandpa and them, successful. Yeah, they had a little grocery store. They worked. They did this. Yeah. But still, just to go to another country and be able to do. Let me tell you one thing though. With Cuba, this was wild. My grandpa, this was my dad's father. When he came from, they were from Palermo and Bissaquino, which is near Palermo. He came through South America. His brothers came through Ellis Island. He went over to Cuba, and his paperwork has him declaring at in Florida, the Keys, in the Florida Keys, as his last place he came from was Cuba.
Wow.
And that was 1920.
Wow.
I want to say 1926. I got all this paperwork.
That was Hemingway's Cuba.
You know what I mean? It just, I never even think of that. You're talking about Cuba and everything. I'm like, man, my grandpa went to Cuba, went up there, and then he met his brothers up in New York from there. But anyway, that's wild.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah, great story. See, a lot of them ended up in South America. I remember I talked to a girl years ago. She said her family, they thought they were going to, I forget what the word is, but it was a slip of the tongue, and they ended up in a country in South America. Like they said, bring us here, and they thought the ship was bringing them here.
Yeah.
It was a completely different. It was like she was like about 1,500 miles off.
Yeah,
Here we go again.
Here you go. Well, I had some family, the same side of the family. My grandpa's brother, his cousins went to Venezuela.
Yeah.
And they opened a pasta factory, a glass company. Well, when Venezuela fell apart just recently, they had to get out of there as fast as they could.
Yeah.
Smuggle. One of them was a heart doctor, man, and
my father had friends that were from Argentina. They were Italian but Argentine.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. There's a whole load of
Villanueva was the last name.
What Craig was saying, I had a friend of mine, Tony, when I was a kid, spoke fluent Italian, and I knew he was from Argentina. I said, "Where'd you learn Italian?" He goes, "We didn't know Italians in Argentina. All of us down there." I had no idea until he told me that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Louis, I don't know if you know. I mean, just to I'll tell you a little. When you ever get a break or whatever it is, we got to do something. No, we do a lot of shit. I know you're high level, brother, but you're one of the crew. I can just feel it. We break balls all the time. That's all we do.
No, I'm not. Believe me, I'm down. Yeah.
The only thing that, Mike, I can relate to the Cuban. Here I go, cracking jokes again. I don't know when to stop. That's what I was told my whole life. But anyway, my father, they used to tell him, I called my father Black, Joe Black, right? That was just a nickname, whatever, from home. But the reason why the Black was there for a reason.
Yeah.
They said that he got, anybody out there, listen, I get very dark in the summer too, so relax and be upset by this. I don't really care. He break my old man's chops. His neck got so black getting the sun that they thought he was Cuban. They used to break his balls and tell he was Cuban.
That's how my dad was.
Listen, it is what it is, guys. That's my story.
Yeah, my mother's mother was the Sicilian.
Matty.
When she used to pick her up at school, my mother would say, they'd say, "There's a black woman outside to pick you up." Said, no,
you take the sun well.
Yeah.
No, that's true, man. I got a story like that at a funeral thing. They go, "Hey, there's some guy out there, man. I don't know. He's working on his car." They go, I don't know if they said it was a black dude or a Mexican dude. Yeah, he's out there. His car's broke down. We can't move the funeral thing. And my grandma looked out. "Hey, that's your cousin. What are you talking about?"
That's it. I used to break our jobs. Forget it. All my friends. You sure you're not half Cuban?
That's great.
Go ahead, man. This is great. This is good shit, man.
Cubans now are supposed to be the mascots of freedom. Remember that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're supposed to be like, we are painting a picture of them as these people were thrown out of their country, and if we don't help them, we're evil. So all America's behind them, right? Okay.
Right.
Now, when Kennedy double crosses them the second time, he makes a side deal with Khrushchev that he's not only going to not invade Cuba again, but he's not going to fund the exiles anymore. Their bid to take it back. So he defunds the exiles and then tells Bobby Kennedy, his brother, AG, Attorney General, if they're caught, no more training camps, no more sabotage missions, no more dynamite, no more explosives, no more machine guns. Lock them up. So now the Cubans who are trying to get back their homeland, they're being pulled over by Coast Guard cutters off the coast of Florida, down by the Keys in the Caribbean. They're being arrested by droves. And they're going, Kennedy not only double-crossed us twice, but now he's locking us up. So they hate him. So now who else hates him? The CIA hates him for screwing up twice. The Cuban exiles hate him for blowing their shot at getting back their own country. And the Mafia hates him, especially Marcello, because Bobby wants to put them all in jail for the rest of their lives. And he's got millions of cases against them all over the country. And he's telling them, I'm going to decimate you. There's going to be no more Mafia in America. You're all going to jail. And he literally deported Marcello to
Guatemala. Dropped him off.
OG.
Just talked about it. It's great, man. I love it.
Yeah.
OG.
Yeah.
Tell him what we were laughing at for an hour the other night. The guy got thrown out of a fucking plane, I heard.
Is
that true, Louis? They threw him out of a plane?
No, so he was like,
they
put him on a plane, and he was worried they were going to throw him out of the plane. He figured they're going to kill me. And then and literally, like, then Guatemala gets pressure, and they throw him out. They put him in Honduras. He's a little squat mob boss.
Yeah. Fear that guy so much.
Yeah, he's walking around. He's walking through the jungle in snakeskin shoes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Hey man, to the door. He got balls all the way to the end, man.
Oh my gosh! So, and he's going to the lawyer who stuck with him. He's going, look, if I don't make it, because he broke 2 ribs, he's huffing and puffing, he thinks he's gonna have a heart attack. He goes, look, if I don't make it, you tell my brothers. Marcelo had brothers who were all in the life. He says, if I don't make it, you tell my brothers, he says, to do what they got to do.
Handle this. Yeah, there you go. I love it, man. He's a tip. I didn't know none of this. This is great.
Oh, yeah. He goes, you tell my brothers, do what they got to do with this effing Bobby. So then,
pissed everybody off.
Yeah, he just makes it, just survives, gets back. And then Marcelo starts to tell people, this SOB's going. So he starts with Bobby. And then at some point or another, he starts to shift the conversations. And he's telling people, I'm going to clip the president. And I give 2, there were witnesses who heard him twice on 2 different occasions. Different witnesses, 2 different occasions, where he said, look, you worried about being deported again because he made it back to the United States. He's fighting deportation again. Bobby was embarrassed because he illegally deported him, and he ate some crow because of it. And now they said, are you worried about being deported again? He goes, look, my wife cries every night, he said. And my kids, he says, are nervous wrecks, he says. What do you love your wife and kids, right? You're willing to kill for your wife and kids. He goes, I can't let them live like this. He goes, I'm going to kill that son of a bitch. They go, who? Bobby? He goes, no. He goes, you kill Bobby. He says, these are the 2 things he said, one and then another. He says, you kill Bobby, you're just cutting the tail off the dog. He goes, the dog's still going to bite you, he says. He goes, you got to cut the head off, and then the dog dies head and tail together. He goes, Jack is the head. So another time, another guy asked him, you're going to clip Bobby? And he says, no, we're going for Jack. And he says, why? And he says, if you kill Bobby, that son of a bitch from the White House is going to send the Marines out or the National Guard. He goes, we'll be done. He says, you kill Jack. He says, Bobby's disempowered overnight. Yeah. So these are the things he's saying. This is a year out. Year out. So now I believe, and this is what the evidence bears out, that Marcelo is working close with the Cuban exiles who he's now funding. So the Cuban exiles is still using these training camps in Louisiana and Florida, and Traficante and Marcelo are funding them. Marcelo's doing over $1 billion a year. This is coming from a direct source from Aaron Cohn, who was the head of the Louisiana State Commission of Crime Commission. He said over back then. Can you imagine? There were countries in South America that weren't doing that.
Didn't have that, yeah.
Doing by himself.
Imagine that. Something, man.
Yeah, powerhouse. Beyond.
So, incredible. So Marcelo says, look, I'm going to fund you. So he gets close with the exiles. Then the CIA was already working with Traficante to kill Castro. And then at some point, I think that turned, there was a guy, David Ferry, and it's important. I urge people to read the book because it's all in the book. David Ferry was this crazy guy. He looked crazy, he acted crazy, but he was a genius. The guy was an absolute genius, and he was a mastermind. And the Cubans called him the master of intrigue because he could weave these intricate plans, like incredible plans, like how to 1 second. Guys, we could keep running. Hey, John.
Mr. Ferrante.
Hey, what's up, buddy? And I know I'm actually on a podcast and you're live right now, but it's so casual that I took the call. So can you call back?
Come on in.
Hey, John, say hello from England.
Hey, John, what do you say, pal? Listen, bring the prosciutto, olives, and a nice piece of bread. We're good.
John, you're live.
Coming right at you.
All right, John, you're all right with us, pal.
Okay, so did you guys ever see the Gangster Code, Inside the Gangster's Code on Discovery Channel when I went to all the countries?
Your special? I saw it long ago, though, very long ago.
Yep, so that was John was the mastermind. He was the producer behind that.
Beautiful piece. That was a beautiful. That's what you got on my radar, but I didn't, then years later, podcast. But yeah, I saw you on that years ago, man. I don't even know how long ago that was.
Same here.
John was a brilliant guy. He's the one who took it from
beautiful. No, John, it's a pleasure, man. A pleasure. Honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
1,000,000%.
Yep, John, you can ring. Everybody said hello.
Hard work there. You had to do all the hard work. So the
yeah, thank you, John.
It sounds like you're very busy. Nice to meet you all. Good luck with the
pleasure, John. Pleasure.
Okay, you got it, John. Bye, buddy. You got it. Bye, buddy. Bye.
Awesome, Louis. Awesome, bro.
That's awesome.
But, I'm leaving it in. I ain't shit.
Yeah,
That's
Too much
awesome.
work. Too much work. Mikey, no, too much work.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Hey, but that's cool as hell.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
yeah. This is the only podcast I could do that with, by the way.
Come on. But you know what? That's good because you should feel that way because nothing's, me and Matty told, nothing's fucking fake. It is what it is. Whatever.
That's great. I feel like I'm hanging. We're at the bar.
No, it's the idea. This is the only way you get you back, Louis, someday. Listen, Louis, I want you to call Matty, me, Mike. You got your balls twisted one day. I'm sure one of us are going to be pissed off that day. Let's go fucking on the air and fuck with somebody.
Yeah, just call. Hell yeah.
They got friends in Brooklyn. Fuck them. So, I told yesterday, as a young kid, we heard that saying. Friends in Brooklyn, fuck them too. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. All these things, we can make a show about that.
Exactly.
David Ferry is a genius, and he's got Marcelo here, who he's tight with. He's working on his case for him, and he gets really close with him. And he's working also with the Cuban exiles hand in hand, and he also works with the CIA. He was a pilot for the CIA. He did contract missions with the CIA. Ferry did. And he also practically lives in Guy Bannister's office, who's a retired 20-year FBI agent, whose office is frequented by all the Cuban exiles. The most militant Cuban exiles are in and out of his office every day. So Ferry is really the hub. I called Marcelo the hub. Ferry really is the hub of the conspiracy. And what I believe is Ferry then figured that, okay, the CIA is in on this. They hate Kennedy. They want him gone. The exiles want him gone. And Marcelo wants him gone. If I could figure this out and strategize and make Dealey Plaza happen, I could put the pieces together and I build a case with evidence. And all the evidence, if you read my book, Matty Hoffa, when you read the second one, you're going to see all the notes in the back. Every one of those notes is where the evidence came from. So it's documented evidence. And I'm going to tell you right now, I got more evidence for this than any prosecutor ever had on me. And I did all those years.
I know you do, Lou, and I'm getting the book. And Louis, again, give him the name of the book. I want it to come from you, not me. Give the name of your book again.
Yeah, Borgata, Rise of Empire is Volume 1. Clash of Titans is Volume 2. That's the one with the Kennedy. And Volume 3 will be Autumn of Empire. That's going to be out early next year. So
come on, people, go out, get that book. Louis, go get the book.
I want to do shows just on that, man.
It's incredible, incredible, Louis. Incredible, man. Incredible. Mikey, you got anything you want to, Lou, before we start? It's crazy. It's beautiful, man. This is love, man.
A complete honor, man. Thank you so much, man. And really, really enjoyed talking with you. It was great.
Same here, back at all you guys, all three of you guys. Same thing. I'm thrilled. I had just so you know, I get fan mails, and I had a couple of fan mails talk about your podcast, saying, "Have you been on this guy? He's a great guy." So you're getting a lot of people out there.
Us?
Yeah, that was it. So
nice.
yeah,
Really? Dang, that's good to hear, man.
We're all a little rough around the edges, but we're real.
That's right. Yeah. So the end reason was Matty, obviously.
He's the Matty Hoffa, baby.
Unbelievably low key, great guy. If you ever come up to New York one of these days, we should.
Absolutely. Hey, Lou, you think you'll ever come back someday, pal?
Yeah. So I don't know to live, but I've been in and out. So I'm always in and out of New York. Yeah. So just. You
ever come back to town? I know you know whatever. You could.
Are you still in Flushing?
I'd love to have coffee with you. You could, I don't mean to tell. You understand what I'm saying?
College Point, right? Yeah, still in College
Point. Flushing guy, still my mom. I was supposed to be there now. He's in and out of the neighborhood. We're gonna fly our partner here to fucking New York, but we got the Southwest covered. You're covered everywhere, Lou. You thought you wouldn't get back just when you were out. You back in,
Great. That's great.